Man, I really appreciate it if you let me introduce this guest. This is a Detroit legend, one of my personal idols, a man that has done so much for the city of Detroit, Coach Benny White. Blessed to have you here today.
I cares what to be here, in the living too. So I'm good. Thank you.
People don't
Well,
even understand that, man.
yeah, you know how that go. You do what you do and you keep moving and give all thanks to God for anything that you can do, man. Y'all know me, so everything been good. Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
Getting old enough to be called a godfather.
Coach, what's new on your front?
The daily for me now is, I'm the dean of students. It's called the dean of culture and climate, but basically the dean of students at Martin Luther King Junior Senior High School, where I was a teacher and a head basketball coach for 15 years. From what was that? From 1995, 2010, and then going into college coaching for a moment, where I worked in the mayor's office with Dave Bing for a moment, and then the last, once I got let go from Easter after 6 years, I took a year off. Well, I took a year off. God gave me a year off. Sometimes I learned that God call time out for you because you ain't smart enough to call it for yourself. So he gave me a time out, spent some time myself and my family, which was a blessing. Then I took a job, a basketball coaching job. I'm the head basketball coach at Birmingham Groves High School for the last 2 years, and I've been the dean of students over at King High School for the last 2 years. So it's kind of my daily routine now since the COVID. Got a chance to sit down for a moment too and spend some time with God, family, self, and now back in the school every day. We got, some schools are just virtual. We have the hybrid schedule. We're face to face, and online. So average about 100 students a day. 100, I think it's like 108 students a day we have.
Well, that was one of my questions, Coach. I mean, you've done so much for the basketball, for not just basketball, but for the youth in Detroit. How do you stay fresh? Because I know you spread yourself so thin, by helping so many.
Well, I think that you learn that the more you give, the more you get. So I think I'm old enough now to look back at a little bit of life and realize that because people say that sometimes, like, how you, I'm saying, I don't have an answer except to know that it's all God, really. But I love being able to share life with young people. So that's been my calling. Like I said, I can look back and see that now, and I think doing so that God continues to give me strength. That He renews it, and every day, I jump up and go at it. Kind of what the word said. Feed my sheep. So that to me is just wherever you at, whatever you can do.
About a lot of people ain't know you played at Michigan State. Also, a lot of people ain't know that Magic was just freshman and you was a senior. Am I correct?
The first part, he was not a freshman my senior year. Greg Kelso was. Irv was still in high school my senior year. He came in, he came in not the following year, but he came in 2 years after I left.
Okay, so how did you guys gain that friendship? I guess just being a Spartan.
Yeah, being I guess kind of what I said earlier. For me, looking back at it now, the God has always, I think, made me a big brother. What I'm saying? I'm a little fella, but I always big brother to everybody. In the sense that I can look back at my life. I was always trying to tell somebody, don't do this, do that. Certainly when it came to basketball. Something that I just had a passion for, and I just did all I could to learn about it. So when we got to Michigan State, just kind of, I grew up in the Dave Bing's basketball camp, which is another blessing in my life. But so I just, I had that same motto. So when we got to Michigan State, Terry Furlow and I, who used to attend Dave Bing's camp, just kind of took that throughout where we were at. So in Lansing, we would go to the playgrounds or the rec centers and stuff, and big brother people, and he happened to be one of them that we saw and attached to, and he attached to us, and so the relationship started as he was maybe in the 7th grade. As he grew, as we went through school, he grew, and we bring him to campus or go to his game, he'd come to ours, and so that's kind of where relationships started. So it was always just the same thing. Just let's just like you and I, Skip. You know what I'm saying? Just who God made me. So if I can tell you, man, pull your pants up, or if I can say here a couple dollars, or whatever it was, I just was always there. He happened to be one of the young people that no different than yourself. People ask me that sometimes, like, man, you this, that, and the other. I'm like, I always say somebody had to know him. Somebody had to pour into his life. So happened to be, a little bit of it happened to be me. So. Yeah.
That was one of the questions I wanted to ask you. Being an alumni of Martin Luther King, I'm just saying.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What year was that?
I played for Alvin Ward. I was a little bit before you, Coach.
What year was that?
Alvin Ward?
You. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 1987.
87. All right.
Yes, sir. Right. Yes, sir. But I remember going to like Metro Index camps and Converse All-Star camps. How do you feel AAU has affected basketball now? I mean, without all the camps, are you feel we better off? Or
I think that it benefits. I would say probably more in a positive way. I mean, life continues to evolve and change, regardless of whether you want it to or not. It's not going to stay still. And so I think AAU came along. I know a lot of people try to discredit it or try to think it harmed basketball in the sense that, they took you away from your high school coaches, it took you away from the camps. A lot of things I think, you develop I don't really care if we lose mentality because I got another game. I think a lot of things are true, the AAU brought about, but I think also a lot of good things are brought about by giving young men an opportunity to be exposed to basketball nationwide. And I think that's a blessing in itself. I think it gave young people a chance to play basketball pretty much year round, where before, once your season's over with, you didn't see your coach, or your team. Maybe you saw your team in the summer league, but most of the time you didn't see your coach. So I think it helped in a lot of ways by giving young people a chance to continue to play, continue to be exposed. Some of them learn how to travel and those things that, my area, you getting on a plane to go play basketball was unheard of. So it gave young people opportunities to see the world, get educated in a different way, just besides of being in your own community. So, so I think, I mean, I could see where people, and I feel that way sometimes too, where lack of fundamentals maybe weren't taught, because some teams just get guys together and they go hoop, and they don't coach them, they just get together and go play. So I mean, it's some down to it when it comes to that, but I think there's some positive to it too. So it ain't gonna stop. So I think overall that when you look at the young people that had came through the AAU system, that time frame and how it helped a lot of them. It helped just as many of them than it may be hindered. So overall, I think that AAU it's been good. Really.
We're gonna go back. Why Michigan State?
Why did I choose Michigan State?
How was the recruiting process for you?
Well, the recruiting process for me was just God again. When I'm 5'10" now, it's probably 5'8" then, so I grew a little bit as an adult. For me, it was my high school coach nephew was a year ahead of me. He was a freshman at Michigan State my senior year in high school in Detroit Northern. And we went up to visit him. And when I went up there, it was like a wow moment for me. Like, wow, this is where I want. This is what I want to do. So that became my mission, to try to do everything I could to try to get to Michigan State. With a lot of people saying that you got to be crazy. It's a Big Ten. You know what I'm saying? You're a little bitty guy. I mean, come on, man. But it just became my drive for the whole next year, where they had the high school all-star games from the best high school players across the state played in the all-star game. One was coached by Lynn Barnett, an NFL Hall of Fame player, and the other team was coached by Dave Bing. But I played for Lim's team. I was picked, and I played for Lim's team. And we had practice in like I said, you had the best players in the state there, and I think out of that group, out of what it was 12, 24 guys, someone told me, it was like 17 guys that made the NBA from that group.
Wow.
Right. No, I had some players, right? So anyway, I'm in the All-Star game. I'm starting, and I just had one of them godlike, days, when you can't miss and everything just going your way. It's like I prepared myself for it before it to unfold like that, in front of the big audience, big crowd, and then Michigan State was there, and it was like they said, okay, yeah, he can play. So they gave me an offer, and that's pretty much how I got to Michigan State. It was a dream, it was a prayer, and it came through at the last moment. That was like in June. So that's my recruitment. So I wasn't a heavily recruited athlete. I was a first-team all-city or all-state basketball player, but again, I was a little fella when little fellas wasn't really popular.
But we were
Like
talking
it is
about
today.
Detroit basketball, coach, and how the PSL is so tough. Do you think that helped you prepare for that next level?
Oh, yeah. Ain't no doubt about it. So, no question. I mean, it was tough. Wherever you went, whatever playground you went, whatever school you played against, like I said, it was some real players. Because back then, basketball was almost one of the only things you can do. You either play baseball, basketball, football, or you was in the street. So most of us was trying to do something right. So people can hoop, man. I mean, take nothing away. I coach now, so sometimes I sit there and I stay positive, but I shake my head like, whoa, this game is hasn't gone and grown the way that I thought that it could or should have. But when you look at life, really, like nothing has. When you look at our communities, when you look at the nurturing that used to get from older guys, whether they played basketball or coaches, just nothing's really the same. If you go back to your old neighborhood, it'll make you drop your head. Never thought you would see that. You always thought things would grow and evolve to get better, but that hasn't been the case in Black America. And that's as we see now. I say we see now, but I think more people are becoming aware of the situation, of the racism and the wrong that has been given to us throughout being in America. That that's the reason why. But no, I used to be players, man. Me and Eric Money was the one name, NBA player, played with the Pistons, Bubba Hawkins in New Jersey. We used to play one-on-one full court like every day in the summer at one of your places, Skip, at Lasky. Bubba had the keys to Lasky. And we would be in there like midnight sometimes, just one-on-one full court. And man, it was some guys that could hoop. Johnny Davis, Larry Fogels, and I'm gonna start naming names, man. I miss so many people. But it was a lot of great players, man. So that's really it. I mean, but I think again, times were different. You had men that were able to show you that they cared about you. You had recreation programs, after school programs, things that were able to put you around people that can kind of direct you and show you not just about the game, but about life. And that's fabric is missing in our communities across the country where, there's no more recreation and YMCAs and boys clubs that you can go play in. So the game suffers that way too.
Taking it back, Coach, because I did a little research on you and I learned stuff that I didn't know. So back in the day when you was assistant coach at UAD, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how did that? Because you one of my favorite people, but P Dub one of my favorite people too. So how did you guys bridge that connect? Was it a Detroit thing or how did that come? How did that unfold?
When I was at University of Detroit, well, it was Detroit Mercy with Perry, but I was a part-time assistant or a graduate assistant coach at the University of Detroit with Smokey Gaines, who just passed away last month. Smokey Gaines was one of the greatest players to ever come out of Detroit, out of Eastern High School, led the school in scoring with the Black College, played the Globetrotters.
Good friends with my father.
Yeah, great friend with your dad. But I went there with him as a graduate assistant for 1 year and had a chance to be a coach and also play with, they had Do-Rod, Eric Curitan, Will McCormick, and some of them guys were from Detroit that were on the team. And again, I keep mentioning names to leave people out, but but Perry, Coach Watson, Perry, I can call him Perry. When he was a high school coach over at Southwestern, I had just got back into coaching. I worked in the steel industry with Dave Bing for 6 years and really kind of got away from basketball, just learning the steel business. But when I left there and got back into coaching, I was assistant coach at Albion College. And so I started going back over to come to Detroit recruiting, but I spent time with Perry a lot. You know, he was a high school counselor, so his schedule was open. So I would go by, you know, to recruit his players. But more so too, we just developed a relationship. We'd sit in the office and just talk for hours, you know, like we're talking right now. So that's what helped he and I develop a relationship, and it grew throughout. So I went from Albion, then after 3 years there, I went to San Jose State, and the same thing. I would come back home and spend time with in Detroit, but certainly with Perry and Southwestern. So when he went to U of M for a year. What was I doing there? I had came back home from San Jose State, and I was working back at the steel company with Dave Bing. And then that next year, he got the job at UAD. So when I called him, he like, you know, come on, you know. So it wasn't no interview, it was nothing. He knew me. He believed in my basketball ability. He knew young people respect me in Detroit. So it was a good match. So that's how I got on with Coach over there, and was able to be there a couple of years and learned a lot of basketball from him. So, but the intriguing part of always wanting to coach high school made me leave UAD, University of Detroit Mercy at the time, and take the job at your alma mater, Coach Vincent at King High School.
What do you think about players nowadays using their platform to speak out on society and social injustices?
Well, I think it's a beautiful thing that they recognize that they recognize that they should. I think this world is now in a state where it's received. So you speak of, the early example would be, you know, with Kaepernick speaking out and losing his livelihood, but he stood up strong for what he believed in. But now with the atmosphere the way it is across our country, really across this world, certainly I can speak about, you know, being here in America, that you're allowed to speak out about it now without being blackballed in a sense from, you know, your feelings, your beliefs. So I think it's good that they recognize that, they step out and do it, and they doing it more uniformly too. So that I think helps too. You know, it'd be different. Like the WNBA did it, or the NBA does it, or, you know, now the other sports team players doing it. So it's like it makes it a little safer than I use a Kaepernick, or you'll go back to the '60s when John Carlos and Tommy Smith, you know, individually, even though there was two of them, but stood out and did it. Doing it together gives you unity, and so I love it. I love it. I hoped it would do more. I mean, I was trying to hope when Kaepernick was doing his thing that all the NFL would just, you know, sit down for a moment, you know. But I understand you have a livelihood. You get concerned about that, so you will make a stand. But eventually, you know, you got to feed your family, make a way for yourself too. And I experienced that because when I was at Michigan State, my junior year, we protested and set out, you know, against the game against Indiana University when they were #1 in the country. Going back, I wish we would have played. I thought we were in a position to possibly win. We had a good enough team. We were at home, but we also wanted to make a statement of the injustice, unfairness of what was going on in our program, you know, as Black players, and so we did. So I got a little sense of that feeling of wanting to stand up and do what's right, but at the same time knowing that you're taking a chance of throwing your life away, but, you know, changing your life the way you thought it should go. But what I learned from that when you step up and you step out to do that, it isn't about you. It's about for those to come, so that's the part that you have to get to. You have to care enough about yourself. I mean, more about others than yourself, and you care about your people and the cause that so many have fought before you, even put you in a position to be able to have something to say. So making a long answer of it, but I love the fact that, they're doing it. Some guys are spearheading it. I hope that it seems like it is, but I hope that they continue to do so.
Coach, we had Derek Nix on last episode, and one of the questions that we asked him was, how do you feel the current status of the basketball league right now with the pandemic and all these social issues going on? Do you think that the best product is being...
I mean, the times we're in, it's the best product. I think
okay.
I think the NBA certainly has. They're walking it down to the final series now, without episodes or any publicated episodes anyway, not having any positive tests. So miraculously in itself, of course they have the resources to do it, but also took a mindset and a togetherness to make it happen. So, but the basketball part of it, yeah, you can compare it to like what if they were on the road, if they had a big crowd and so forth, and at home, could play be different? Of course it would, but I think for where the guys are at, they're competing, they're fighting to continue to advance on. So it's different, but I think you're getting the best out of it. But I think the pandemic has again allowed some people to go back into the lab and retool and heighten their skills up. And I think you see a lot of that out on the floor too. You're seeing some guys that, we heard of or didn't hear of in a certain way that, bringing a little different game to the floor because they've had time. They are down there for 3-4 months, with nothing, so I ain't going out and let me go to the gym. So I think that it's brought about some good basketball from an individual standpoint. Me personally, I'm adjusted to it because I love basketball. I don't like the style of play, that it ain't just happened overnight. It's been evolving, and now I think it's just more teams. You almost can say all the teams seem like it since we've been watching them in the bubble. But just to have gone to, whether it's small ball or whether it's shooting a lot of threes and everything, so the game is the way it's played to me has just like totally flipped. And for me being, people would say old head, I think in a sense, but I've seen basketball from the 60s on, it's like it's totally different, but so is everything else. So either you're going to get on and keep up with it, or, you're going to say, I can't, I don't appreciate it, and I'm going to stop watching. So to answer your questions, man, I think that, I think it's good. I think we're seeing the best basketball that we can possibly see in the state that we live in there.
Because at one point you were a scout for the Pistons, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so that would be one of my questions: is do you think that the fundamentals or the game have gotten better, or if it lost its?
Yeah, I think I know where you had it. You just basically saying it is a game, because of the lack of fundamentals, but it is a lack but I almost say different fundamentals. I'm around young people, so you want them to learn and get a foundation to build on, but their foundation is totally different than yours, different than mine. They are who they are, and they are where they at. So I think you ask these guys, did they have fundamentals? They would tell you for sure that they do. I can say, no, you don't, because you can't jump stop, you can't bounce pass, whatever. Some of the fundamentals that we grew up understanding you don't see anymore, but that don't mean that they don't have fundamentals to play the way the game is being played now. I mean, you got some highly skilled people that can, the game is going to dribble, shoot, pass, you know what I'm saying? And you got some people that can do that. The concept of moving the ball around, throwing it inside. I told somebody the other day, I think as great as Shaquille O'Neal, you can throw any big fella, but just, Shaquille O'Neal was, I think he would have a hard time in today's basketball. I mean, he would certainly still stand out. He could be a joker, like handle the ball, bring it up, but he couldn't shoot, so it limited him. And I don't know how effective he could be in the way the game is played today. So totally different. But still, I think for the day, it is the best that we got, and you have to enjoy it for what it is, not for what you think it should be or the way it was. It's not going back. So fundamental wise, yeah, I'm a fundamental guy. Keep your head up, take the ball, talk on D, stand, whatever. Today's game is, put the ball in the basket, and we'll go from the rest of it after that.
I know a lot of times people always go with the money. You know what I'm saying? If they they always go with that. But long story short, I know you was working with Dave Bing. That was your guy, right? Working at the steel company. And you left and went to go coach high school basketball, correct?
Well, I left to go to Albion.
Well, you left to go coach, right?
Well, I left. Well, yeah, I left Dave a few times, but that's the kind of brother he is. Every time I left and came back, he welcomed me, and then I leave again, come back, he welcomed me, leave again. So that's kind of how our relationship is. Yeah.
But my question for you is, the passion over the money. Sure, you was making money with him.
Yeah.
And I know you, so I know your faith and your belief is strong. Was that what God put on your heart for you to leave and go help people like me?
Yeah, it was. Exactly, you said exactly how it played out. I had got with Dave. He first started a company with 4 people, and I was one of them. Went from 4 people to over 500 employees, from a little office building to 5 or 6 plants. So I was there from the beginning, and reap the benefits financially from it too. So for me, as working for somebody that you idol and love, but also working for a Black man, I was doing pretty good, from a standpoint of financial, with a future ahead of me too. But I started waking up not wanting to go to work. So long story fast, I quit. And everybody thought I was crazy. Pretty much, I thought I was crazy for a while, but my mama told me it's gonna be all right. And when she told me that, I realized, because I think what I realized was that I was going to work and I was making money, driving, getting my cars made off the line, tailor-made clothes, the whole works. But at the end of the day, I felt like I realized I wasn't doing what God put me here to do, and that's to work with the Marvin Skippers. So when I jumped off to do it, it was a little bit frightening, but again, my faith, like you said, and I just was determined that I'm gonna walk it down. I'm gonna do what I know that God gave me gifts to do, and it wasn't to wake up every day trying to make any money.
And Dave Bing was at East when he told me he was cussing you out.
Yeah. Forgot about that. I forgot about that. That's right. Yeah. No, but he understood. Like I said, eventually he just pissed off at first, but he finally understood that I was pursuing what, my passion, and I had enough courage to say, forget this, man. I gotta go. Because I talked to him about it before I did it for months, but he kept giving me different answers. He's a vision man. So in 90 days we'll do this, and next year I want to build a Rex. He was always giving me something to keep me hanging on. But eventually I just got to a point, like I said, I don't know how much time we got. I don't want to hold y'all up or your other listeners. I hope that I hope you're sharing something that interesting. But with that story, it was I was asking God for something, and then the one morning I woke up and there was a bird at my patio window. I didn't know it was him. I heard it when I was in the back, but as I was leaving, he was just flying to the glass, falling on the patio balcony. I stay on the 3rd floor on the rail, flying back into the glass, and I watched him do it 7 times. And I woke up that morning hearing it. So I don't know how long he was doing it. And so when I got there and just watched him do it several times, I'm like, what's wrong with this bird? So as I started walking towards it, he just turned around and flew away. And so as I got in my car, I was like riding to work, just tripping out on this bird. And then I heard the small voice of God. If you ever have a moment in your life where you hear God's voice, it's like it's only been a few for me, but that was one, and he said, "That's you." So I went to work that day, and I quit. I flew away, and that's how things have been, man, for real. So yeah, yeah, that's interesting though, Skip, because again, it could have been easy for me to say, no, I'm gonna make money, I'm gonna do this and do that. But I think if I would have, I would be dead by now. And I wouldn't be here. You know, I simply believe, no, I know that for a fact. You know, not so much God would have. It's just how life is and how I was living, and you know, it would not have worked.
How are you good friends with Magic, good friends with Dave Bing, and good friends with George Gervin? How did that George relationship form?
George Gervin?
Yeah, the Iceman.
Oh, probably pretty much like everything, Marv. Me just being myself, man. You know, one, I think guys, I talked to George, maybe we're gonna talk often, maybe once every 4 months, and then we get on the phone like girls and talk for a long time. But I had my son in the car with me, and George called me, you know, and so I took the call. Of course, we talking, and I told him here's what I was doing. I told him I had my son. We was going somewhere, and he said, "Young fella, can you hear me?" So he said, "Man," and so my son said, "Yeah." So he said, "Listen to your pops, man. Your dad had passion for this thing." He said. So I'm saying that to say I think that's what draw me to guys, and you know, one, my personality, my spirit, but the passion that I had for the game. You know what I'm saying? They knew how much I loved it. So if they loved it and they knew I loved it, then of course it was a love affair. You know, so I think that's kind of where George is at. You know, so much I was a good player for my stature and my skill set. You know what I'm saying? But like in basketball, I've learned that at some point it's gonna come to an end. You know, even if you Kareem or Magic or Gervin or Dave Bing, I'm like, you can be the greatest of all time, but this thing gonna end while you're still young. And so I think just my passion for the game, they felt, and they know that I could drop some nuggets and some wisdom on them too about it. You know, so that was the other part about it, because I can watch them play and say, hey, this was that, but what about this? You know what I'm saying? And so they always receive that. So it's like again, the big brother kind of thing. You know, I was younger, or in some cases, and not an NBA player, they knew what I was saying to them was real, and they can go out right away and apply it. So that's kind of what George is at. You know what I'm saying? You know, but it's like people say, man, you helped. You know, it's like, yeah, I ain't help, but God, you know, if you good, you're gonna be good. You know what I'm saying? I mean, ain't nobody made you be good or taught you how to be good, but people can give you some guidance if if your ears are open to listen, to help add to what God has given you.
So cut, bench, start. Magic, Dave, George Gervin. You got to cut one, bench one, and start one. Out of those three. And I'm pretty sure they're not gonna see this, so I ain't gonna be mad at you.
I think I heard your question. You said if I was like picking a team, or what you say?
You got to cut, start, and bench one out of those three. You got to cut one, start one, and then you got to come off the bench.
Oh, wow. I think I'm bringing George off the bench to get some scoring done. Just, basketball, come on and just do your thing. Wow, that's a good question, man. I got to cut one, you said?
Got to cut one. I know all three of them.
Oh, wow. Oh, man. If I was, well, this is basketball. This ain't personal. So whoever here, whatever. This is basketball, right? Basketball, if you give me that scenario, I'm starting Magic Johnson. I love Dave. I love Ice. But Magic Johnson starts for me, for my basketball team. If I got to bring one off the bench, it would be Dave Bing. And of course, that means that I would play against George. He'd probably give us 40, but we probably still win. So that's the answer there. That's a tough question, man. Wow. Yeah. So that's my basketball answer.
We appreciate
y'all too, man. Love you too, man. Really do.
I can't thank you enough for everything, man. And you're basically in our family. My father, my brother. And love you to death. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for all you do for everybody else, as well as me.
Well, I appreciate words, man. I like I said, I'm getting old enough now. Sometimes I look back and say, wow, man, I'm 66 years old. So, but again, God has been good. So I appreciate what you guys are doing. Appreciate the words, that you feel that I've had anything to do with being a positive person in your life, man. And for me, that's really all it's about.
I was going to tell you too. He ended up getting caught in study hall, but we were going to have Tariq pop on and pay tribute to you as well. He ended up in study hall, but he told me to tell you that he appreciates you too.
Yeah, come on, man. That was, he's a great young person, man. And he's going to have a great life because his spirit is good. So, I appreciate the opportunity to come down to your hometown and recruit him and get him up to Eastern. When things don't work out the way you want them to or desire them to, it really is a part of the life that helps make you a better person. So Skip, I know you can speak on that, from your experience, but all of us, you continue to go through things and God will say call time out for you, or he'll remold you, and even though you had a plan, his plan is different. And as long as we stay with him, he'll keep us on the potter's wheel and keep taking us forward. So again, I thank y'all for the time, man. God bless y'all. Stay on it. All right. So who brainstormed this?
Actually, Craig is a producer. Craig put it together.
All right.
He said, man, I want you and Skip to come on Talk Sports. And it's been a blessing, Coach.
All right. Yeah, it is. I appreciate y'all having me on, man. And all the best to y'all. Anything I could ever do, Craig, or y'all, let me know. I'll be glad to, man. All right.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, the Godfather, y'all. All right.
All right.
All right, Coach.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. All right.